Welcome to the Tricord Advisors podcast. This is where we answer your questions to help you get excited about your finances. This is Randy Barkley, and I'm Jeremiah Lee. We're both certified financial planners, and I'm also a California licensed attorney.
We talked about in the first segment about, the longevity versus life expectancy. But basically what we want to talk about right now is the longevity risk. If you've reached a certain age, the biggest issue going into retirement, going into the latter part of your life, is healthcare delivery.
Yeah.
And most people misunderstand what's covered and what's not covered by their health insurance structure.
Yeah, someone's budget, how much they eat, what their housing costs, all that is, it changes, but
Right.
it's less variable.
Right.
You can kind of forecast that out. Whereas your healthcare delivery and your healthcare costs, some of it is an unknown, and you
Right.
have to make some assumption. But some of it, even the Medicare, different parts of the plans, they can be expensive, and they can be a significant part as you age of what the costs are going to be.
So again, I think what we want to talk about here is how do we overcome, or how do we prepare? So obviously your capital that you build, the different sources of money, and in our planning, when we sit down with a client and do wealth management, what we want to do is kind of test the plan. What we've kind of alluded to is that there's been a change because people are living longer, and you no longer are going to the old standards of you use your age and how much you put in bonds versus equities. What we're finding, if people reduce their position in equities, it's going to hurt them substantially in the latter part of their life.
That's right.
Particularly if they have a healthcare delivery issue.
Yep. Yeah. Someone who's, and I think a lot of people know this, someone who's in their early 20s or mid 20s and they're investing for their retirement can be very aggressive to say,
Right.
You should be in mostly equities generally for most people. It needs to grow. You have a lot of years ahead of you. Well, by the time someone gets to 60, often they think, oh, that's not me anymore. I'm retiring. I need to be safe and secure. But if you're 60 and say you're going to live to 100, you may not know that, but that's the longevity risk. You're just barely past halfway. And to say I have a lot more life ahead of me, I still need to have this growth mindset,
Right.
even into your 60s and 70s. And that can't be, growth mindset at the risk of stability. And that's kind of what we're talking about.
And there's different ways to do that. I mean, we've
Yeah.
gone through in 2022, we've gone through a lot of volatility within the marketplace. But those people that had value-based stocks, value-based assets, dividend payers, they didn't experience the same kind of volatility that somebody had a lot of growth stocks in their more aggressive portfolio structure, right?
That's right. And when you take the longer view, someone who had growth stocks all the way through the pandemic and all the way through this last year, they've had a roller coaster ride. They've been up and down. But it would be interesting to see, would depend on each individual client of whether they're better off or not.
Right.
I imagine a fair number of them are still better off because
Right.
there's such growth in 2020 after the fall, came way back. And that's the long-term view. To say in the short term, it could be, a scary aspect, but over if you're looking at a decade at a time, keeping a growth mindset is useful. But building in that security, and that's part I guess we want to talk about a little bit. Most folks have, say, Social Security.
Right.
That's a benefit that they're not going to outlive. It's a continual stream of income.
But they do have control of when they're going to take it.
Yes.
And that has some very significant outcomes into their financial stability going forward.
Yeah. If someone were to take Social Security early, and I would even say too early.
62 is the earliest if you quit work.
And you have if you take it at 62, you have a significant slice into and a reduction into what you're going to be receiving over the rest of your life. Right. So people that either delay Social Security all the way to 70, or people that take it at their full retirement age, they're going to be in a better shape in their 80s and 90s than someone who took it early. So that's one piece. One that we have talked about a number of times here is annuities. Mm-hmm. Annuities, over the last decade, we've not done a lot of annuities.
We haven't, because annuities are very much impacted by interest rates, and interest rates have been extremely low over the last 10 years. We've had a pivot, though. We've had a pivot starting last year. And we've seen now annuities are paying out better. They have a much better return for clients. And the fixed as well as the index annuities are that provide principal protection, but they have a better outcome now. So these are something that we're taking a really hard look at right now.
And they don't fit everybody. I mean, I love having almost like a quiver of arrows, to say, okay, I got an issue. I got a number of options to pick from that might deal with this. And for someone who is looking at this longevity risk and saying, oh, I have assets, I have a way forward, but if I live, me or my spouse, we live past 90, 95, we make it to 100, I don't know what we're going to do. There could be some key moments for someone to say, I'm going to pick up a couple of annuities that will pay out for the rest of my life, whatever that may be.
Yeah, and the timing of that is really important. We're not I guess I want to be really hesitant because I have a tendency to be against buying annuities too early. And the kind of annuities, high commission, high cost annuities, I think are in your detriment. But there are annuities placement that makes sense, and they have like an income replacement annuity or something like that. But there's also a lot of products out there, annuities as well as life insurance, that have long-term care riders attached to them.
Oh, yeah.
They increase the benefit payout, and you would be activated when in fact you have that. Now, if you didn't need it, in other words, you didn't have any, and you essentially died with the annuity, it's going to be paid out to your beneficiary, so you don't lose all that capital. But I think the design of the annuity or the life insurance product should be carefully looked
Yes.
at. When do you put it in place, and what's it for? Right?
Yeah, that's right. And someone in their 50s, just as example, like I said, every situation is different, but someone in their 50s may be way too early for this.
Right.
It might be someone in their 70s and 80s that says, okay, now I see where we're at. I see what our longevity might be. We need to do some other planning to build in a safety net. So that's part of it. And the other, I like the long-term care rider you mentioned. There's also life insurance that does the same thing. That folks will say, well, if one of us passes away between our 80s and 90s, I want the other, to be able to continue on if they keep living. So to have some life insurance could be useful. But to have a long-term care rider there says that if I haven't passed away, but I need some long-term care, my medical bills are going significantly higher, you can in essence have access to those life insurance funds to use for long-term care. And it's another safety net.
It is. And again, I mean, our whole discussion here is to set up a portfolio for our clients and to manage that portfolio so that they don't outlive it.
Yeah.
And we have to be cognitive. We have to be fully aware that life has things happen to you. And healthcare delivery is one of them. There's other aspects too, but that's the most common one that really burdens the assets and the income that people have. And it takes away their security at a time in their life when they really shouldn't be worrying about security, right?
That's right. Well, and a big part of what we do is wealth management. So often a broker will help you buy and sell a stock. Right. A investment advisor or financial planner will help you make a plan for your investments.
Right.
But then when you step into wealth management, it's looking at your whole life of saying, your retirement assets, your savings, the equity in your home, your rental, your kids' lives, annuities, insurance. It's this comprehensive view to say, this is your whole life. How do we put together a plan, whatever it may be, using all your assets that really works for you and gives you that security to say, I'm going to be fine and I can live the lifestyle and the joy I want to if I live to 80 or to 90 or to 100 and kind of build that in.
And I think we should flesh this out a little bit more on the wealth management, because it's not just investment, it's how you structure your life. I mean, it goes beyond just budget control. But we want to build scenarios within our clients' portfolios that we look at the what if thing. What happens if? And we want to build an outcome that's realistic. What is the cost of healthcare? And let's be really clear here. Healthcare costs are going up, not only your premiums, but also the delivery of healthcare. And they were estimating right now of about 5% a year. It was kind of on pause for a while during the pandemic, but now it's starting to escalate again.
But you combine that with, these healthcare delivery is expensive. And because the healthcare is getting so much better, they can keep you alive longer. Right. So now you have this battle of it's getting more expensive and you're living longer. And, how long people are going to live in 20 years from now because of medical abilities may be surprising to a lot of folks.
Yeah. And I've had people tell me, well, I don't want that. But it comes down to it. What I've experienced with 40 years in this business is life is very precious. And people want to hang on to life as long as they can. And oftentimes they will fight to the very end, and it's, their life gives up.
Especially healthy life. And we're having more and more years of healthy life for people.
So again, we've had a lot of discussion here. And if you'd like us to discuss more, we'd like for you to give comments. Go to our website, which is www.retirementunlimited.com. Put in your comments or questions that you would like us to discuss on this program. We really believe that what we do is valuable to our clients. It helps them to have a better and more satisfying and secure future. Until next week, folks, may you grow in wisdom and knowledge. Thank you for listening.